maybe he's released that as well. So let's stick with payments, guys, because for the first time, everything from concessions to retail is going cashless at this year's Super Bowl. It's part of the NFL's partnership with Visa. Fans who attend the game can use credit cards or apps. If they do bring cash, there are reverse ATMs throughout that will convert it into gift cards. The NFL told CNBC going cashless was already in the works, but COVID-19 sped up that timeline. Dom, my first thought was, I guess that means the Super Bowl is going to have fans actually there, but sure enough, it's in Tampa. I guess they can be around 20% capacity, so that's 13,000 people.
And it's not just that. I mean, so if you're going to go, I thought to myself, how many people are really going to be there? But then you broaden it out thematically speaking. One of the big stats that stands out during this kind of whole presentation of why they're going cashless is how much more people spend when they do it on a card versus shelling out cash. According to Visa and the NFL, it's like 25% more at concessions when they use like some kind of contactless or swipe type payment. People just tend to spend more when it's not shelling out their own cash and counting bills out. It's also one of those reasons why personal finance experts say if you want to control your budgets, use cash, don't use cards, because you can track it better. For me, though, this whole notion of getting more cashless actually is a good thing, because if you can get more of these types of technologies for reverse ATMs, you can start to serve the very underbanked population, not just here in the U.S., but around the world as well. It means everybody can get a card at some point, so they don't have to have that cash around.
Yeah, it seems like it was only a matter of time before we all go.
Cash, it's free money. Go ahead, Bob.
Well, I mean, this is part of a process that's been going on for years. I mean, basically in China, they're already practically cashless. You walk up and, you know, my understanding is you go into Beijing and try to hand somebody cash, they'll look at you like you're crazy at this point. So what does Visa get out of this? First off, they get more revenues, number one. Number two, it seems to me they get really valuable insight into consumer behavior, which I bet you they're going to be sharing with the NFL. The thing that makes me very nervous about this whole thing is just the trend towards exactly them knowing everything about us. Art Cashin, for years, I've been going out with Art for 20 years. He pays cash at every place we've ever been because he doesn't like people knowing exactly what they're doing. That's essentially what he's doing. That's essentially what we're giving up at this point. But nobody seems to be fighting it too much, at least.
Rooney, quick last word on this.
This is great for Visa. They've been a crusader in sort of getting rid of cash. And if you can get people to physically take cash and put it back into a prepaid debit card, they're going to make more money on these swipes. And like Bob said, the spending data could be huge for the NFL. They want to see what people are doing when they're actually in the stadium. And financial data is a big part of that.
Shepard Smith here. Thanks.
Halal, Yahawah, Bahasham, Yahawashi, double honors to the elders in Israel that rule well. So what you saw just there is a very interesting turn of events, and as they said, they were already trying to do that, but this coronavirus, it sped up the thing for them. So good luck to them with that. All right. So they're removing the cash out of certain sporting ting and ting, effectively, which is ultimately going to culminate in the mark of the beast, which is the RFID microchip. And there's something, I can't say I'm too studied in it, but I've heard mention of and checked out the SoFi Stadium very briefly, and that's got something to do with RFID. Look further into that. But it seems these sporting events, and it's going to be with concerts and everything like that, is really how they're going to get their agenda across, because people want everything to go back to so-called normal, which is really just painful for the hopeful elect and the nation of Israel that knows what's going on. We don't want it to go back to normal. We want we want things to speed up, and we want to get the hell out of here. We want to be tried as gold in a furnace, as gold in a fire, acceptable men in the furnace of adversity. So let's see this. It just reminded me of the Maccabean era, which obviously we're in the season, or coming up to the season, of what's known as Hanukkah in the world, the Feast of Dedication. We'll just read this very, very briefly and see where the Spirit leads us. So 2 Maccabees chapter 4, we'll start at verse 13. Now such was the height of Greek fashions, an increase of heathenish manners, through the exceeding profaneness of Jason, that ungodly wretch, and no high priest, that the priests had no courage to serve any more at the altar, but despising the temple, and neglecting the sacrifices, hastened to be partakers of the unlawful allowance in the place of exercise. After the game of discus called them forth, not setting by the honours of their fathers, but liking the glory of the Grecians best of all. And the same, it's always Jake, the NFL, the 2K, NBA, all of that, the WWE, everything our people are obsessed with, everything Greek, every Greekish custom. So if they said, "Yo, you're not allowed to bring cash," that's not really going to put them off. And the guy in the video was like, "Well, right now, if you've got cash, they don't really know what you're doing, but this is the freedom we're giving up," and no one seems to really care. I can't remember how he worded it. I wish I could word it exactly how he did. I'm not trying to put any spin on it, because what he said was the thing that he put forth there was true. That as soon as you've got a card, it's where you were. Then you've got CCTV of the store. You've got what you bought specifically. You've got, if anyone wanted to, that's a perfect thing to start learning about your habits, your lifestyles, where you live about, what you're getting up to. Whereas with cash, that's not a thing. There was also a video cut from a couple months back of the same sort of Babylonian news reporter, and then we're going into how it's great. It was when the Swedes were accepting the mark of the beast. They were taking on the RFID chip for convenience, and they were talking about how they were planning to phase out the cash, or there was talks of phasing out the cash, of that being a good defense against the coronavirus because it can stay up on a dollar bill and da-da-da-da-da. But if it's really that deep, you don't want people gathering in a sporting facility. So it's a double-minded man, therefore unstable in all his ways. So let's go into the book of 1 Peter chapter 4. See where we can go from here. 1 Peter chapter 4 and 7, it says, "But the end of all things is at hand. Be ye therefore sober and watch unto prayer. And above all things have fervent charity among yourselves, for charity shall cover the multitude of sins. Use hospitality one to another without grudging. As every man hath received the gift, even so minister the same to one another, as good stewards of the manifold grace of Yahawah Bahasham Yahawashi. If any man speak, let him speak as the oracles of Yahawah Bahasham Yahawashi. If any man minister, let him do it as of the ability which Yahawah giveth, that Yahawah in all things may be glorified through Yahawashi Mashiach, to whom be praise and dominion for ever and ever. Amen." It goes on to say, "Beloved, think it not strange concerning the fiery trial, which is to try you, as though some strange thing happened unto you. But rejoice inasmuch as ye are partakers of Hamashiach or Mashiach's sufferings, that when his glory shall be revealed, ye may be glad also with exceeding joy." And that reminds me of 2 Peter chapter 2, when it talks about if we deny him, he will deny us. Let's pull that up. Sorry, 2 Timothy chapter 2. 2 Timothy chapter 2, verse 12, it says, "If we suffer, we shall also reign with him. If we deny him, he also will deny us. If we believe not, yet he abideth faithful, he cannot deny himself. But what about the unfaithful?" So 2 Ezra chapter 15, verse 4, it says, "For all the unfaithful shall die in their unfaithfulness. Behold, saith Adawan ha-Adawan, I will bring plagues upon the world, the sword, famine, death, and destruction." And this is a plague. Coronavirus is a plague, it's a pestilence. However you want to chop it up. The lockdown itself is trying for a lot of people, man. Or the multitude of lockdowns, and them yet to come still. Clicked on the wrong chapter, Salat. Alright, this is Revelation chapter... chapter 2, we'll start at verse 10. "Fear none of those things which thou shalt suffer. Behold, the devil shall cast some of you into prison, that ye may be tried, and ye shall have tribulation 10 days. Be thou faithful unto death, and I will give thee a crown of life." And it says some of the things which you shall suffer. It doesn't say you might suffer, brother. But again, there's going to be some people that are set up already to, when those days of evil draw near, nothing will touch them. But there's also got to be another set of people within that elect that will have to have their heads chopped off for this. So all of this should be in continual meditation, and we should be thinking about building up on the faith, Because you're not going to deliver yourself. You're not going to take up a sword against a man that was blessed with the sword. It doesn't work like that. The sword that we've got is Hebrews 4:12. Hebrews 4:12 reads, let me sneeze. Alright, hold on. So like, you know when you're in the middle of sneezing, you can't sneeze, but you can't not sneeze. Alright, let's get it. Hebrews 4:12. For the word of Yahawah, Bahasham, Yahawashi is quick and powerful and sharper than any two-edged sword, piercing even to the dividing asunder of soul and spirit, and of the joints and marrow, and is a discerner of the thoughts and intents of the heart. That's what we've got there. That's the sword that we're blessed with. We're not blessed with Esau's sword. So, you better rejoice, you heavens, and ye that dwell in them, because there's a sword that's coming with great wrath. So it says, Revelation 12:12, therefore rejoice, ye heavens, and ye that dwell in them. Woe to the inhabitants of the earth and of the sea, for the devil is come down unto you, having great wrath, because he knoweth that he hath but a short time. And the governance and governments are very aware of this. There's a reason they're trying to set up a so-called space force too, because there's a time where some angels are going to have to fight with some other angels, some messengers for some others, nation against nation, pestilences, all, well, like, as we're saying, perplexity upon the earth. And a lot of people are not going to know what's going on. If you didn't want to hearken, you took it as dung, and you stored up your riches on this earth, then you've already set up your own medal, your reward, and that's how we'll get. Let's not switch topics. So there's going to be a cashless NFL. Great Jake loves Greekish manners, and it's all going to have to get brought together and culminate in the agenda of the Lord, but he's putting it through the servants of the left hand to try the servants of the right hand, to try all them that dwell upon the earth. So this is Revelation. This is Revelation chapter 3, verse 10. I will start out. Now let's read this first. This is Revelation chapter 3, verse 5. He that overcometh, the same shall be clothed in white raiment, and I will not blot out his name from out of the book of life, but I will confess his name before my Father and before his angels. So it's talking, if we deny him, so what would that be? Doing anything against these scriptures would be denying him. Taking that mark of the beast, which is the RFID microchip, would be denying him. That's an idol. The word there is haragma. It goes into a graven image. And that's a perfect way to implement the cashless society. If you can buy on that, you can just boop, boop, boop. That's you paying for 3 different items or whatever. Scanning yourself in. Then you've got the track and trace. Then you don't need cash. Then no one needs to touch anything. They can just scan it. And yeah, like I say, check out that SoFi Stadium, because there was talk of RFID something or other. It wasn't. They weren't giving out chips, but they were doing something with the technology. So it is the word irked. But anyway, it stirred me up to think, well, that's a perfect way to bring it in. The mass gatherings, well, we can't have cash because of this and this and that. And yeah, I've said what I've said. I'm just rambling at this point, so let's get it. Revelation 3:10. Because thou hast kept the word of my patience, I also will keep thee from the hour of temptation, which shall come upon all the world to try them that dwell upon the earth. Behold, I come quickly. Hold that fast which thou hast, that no man take thy crown. Him that overcometh will I make a pillar in the temple of my God. Use his red letter. So Yahawashi has a God, who is Yahawah, and he shall go no more out. And I will write upon him the name of my God, and the name of the city of my God, which is New Jerusalem, which cometh down out of heaven from my God. And I will write upon him my new name. And the Jerusalem that's coming out of that sky. This is Revelation 21. It says, and I saw a new heaven and a new earth, for the first heaven and the first earth were passed away, and there was no more sea. And I, John, saw the holy city, New Jerusalem, coming down from God out of heaven, prepared as a bride adorned for her husband. It's talking about Israel but it's actually talking about the elect of Israel. This is Isaiah 54:5. For thy maker is thine husband, Yahawah Bahasham Yahawashi of hosts is his name, and thy Redeemer, the Holy One of Israel, the God of the whole earth shall he be called. Thine husband, thine husband. So it said, adorned, prepared as a bride adorned for her husband. And then it goes on to say, I heard a great voice out of heaven, behold, the tabernacle of Yahawah Bahasham Yahawashi is with men, and he will dwell with them, and they shall be his people, and Allah himself shall be with them, and shall be, what is it, their God. Allah Hayaha, I believe. It says, what Allah and God shall wipe away all tears from their eyes, and there shall be no more death, neither sorrow nor crying, neither shall there be any more pain, for the former things are passed away. So who's their eyes? It's talking about that heavenly Jerusalem, New Jerusalem, the bride. That's whose eyes are being wiped away. So yes, there's not going to be any suffering. We're all going to be ruling and reigning. Vocab Malone has no clue what's about to go on. Modern Christianity has no clue about the prophecies, but this is what's got to come to pass before the heavenly Jerusalem. The New Jerusalem is to drop. A whole heap of bad things, so-called, have to lick the earth. But we know they're good because they're working towards the purpose of the coming and the establishment of the kingdom of Yahawah Bahasham Yahawashi. So hopefully that was edifying, can offer something of use to you. Double honors to the elders in Israel that rule well. Kal Halal Yahawah Bahasham Yahawashi. Shalom.